Good evening. I'm standing here tonight outside Mountjoy prison in Dublin. I'm here with my mother Martina, and it's still a great shock, even as we stand here, that my father Sean Burke is behind me this Christmas in Mountjoy prison. It's a great shock, and we know, of course, he was jailed by Judge Ronan Munro this week. We know that was arising out of those events in the Court of Appeal when Enoch Burke was before those judges on the 7th of March 2023. The judges said it wasn't about transgenderism. Of course, my family spoke up at that point, as you should do when you face something so seriously unjust as they faced. And we know the guards rushed in. We know my brother was ripped with such force that his shirt was ripped from him. We know that there were floods of guards in the courtroom that day, and there was an allegation against my father, Sean Burke, that he pushed a guard against a radiator. Now, there's so many things that could be said about this. It's a sad day in our country, in our democracy, when allegation can be taken by An Garda Síochána, a force set up to protect the people, to ensure justice in the land. And my father, a decent, honourable man of integrity, is in prison tonight. And we know that it was Garda Victoria Fisher who made this allegation. Her sergeant is Sergeant
Brian Griffin.
Brian Griffin, yes. Brian Griffin. He was the prosecuting Garda, so he would have organised this prosecution. He went into the box during this trial and he cursed. He put his hand on the Bible and he used the F word in the box. And of course, Judge Ronan Munro had no issue with that. He had no issue with that. Those are the things that speak volumes. And there were a number of things. The CCTV, the area where this alleged incident was supposed to have taken place in the court, was the one place where there was no CCTV. How significant, how interesting that is. And of course, the CCTV that we do have shows Victoria Fisher, after she made this allegation, seconds later outside the door, walking around, doing her business, chatting with her colleagues, and later on walking down towards the Liffey.
And this all happened, Josiah, within the space of a few seconds.
Absolutely.
In an area where my husband was walking out. It took a few seconds, and that is why it's an atrocity that my husband is locked up in Mountjoy prison tonight.
Yep.
This Christmas 2024, locked up in Mountjoy. This allegation by An Garda Síochána, it's sad and it's disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful.
Victoria Fisher, just to finish off, she said the alleged injury that she alleged she had was like a bad sunburn. And as I said really tonight, at this time of year, how sad that our nation has descended in a place now where my brother Enoch spent over 500 days for his religious beliefs. We have now a situation where my father Sean Burke put into that place and imprisoned on the basis of such an allegation. That is the situation we're in.
Yes, and people often say to me, they say, where will this all end? They say it's terrible about Enoch. Enoch spent 500 days and nights in Mountjoy prison. He was thrown out on Friday to save the face of the judges who have incarcerated him unjustly, denied him his religious rights, denied him his constitutional rights. This state and judiciary have absolutely no respect for our constitution. They make sure we are denied our constitutional rights. And this judge started off the proceedings last Friday by lying to us.
Absolutely.
By lying to us, which was brought to his attention by Enoch Burke. And of course there was no hearing. He ran out and he came back and gave his judgment. And he pushed Enoch out the door after lying, after making a statement that if there was any trouble, we'd never be allowed back into the court again. That is illegal and it's not acceptable. And he knows that. Then he denied that he ever made the statement.
Yes, he denied it. He tried to say he had never said that then. This is from a judge sitting on the bench, a man who has sworn to uphold the Constitution, to be honest and just before God. He turns around and says, oh no, I didn't say that, a few minutes later. That's what we need to be looking at. That's what we need to be focusing on.
This judge, after openly lying, has the audacity then to read the scriptures in his ruling. And he talked about the talents. And he said Enoch Burke is very intelligent, which he is, of course, thank God. God blesses his people. He's very intelligent, he said, and he has a lot of talents. And he'd be better off, he's wasting them, he said. But thank God for Enoch Burke for his stand. And I'd much prefer to have my son standing for the truth, than being a judge on a bench with a wig and a cloak on him who is a liar. I'm proud of my son. He spent 500 days in there, and they've pushed him out now to save their faces this Christmas. And as I said, people come and say to me, it's terrible. It's terrible what's going on. We know it's wrong, but where is it going to end? And I think about that, and I've pondered it, and this should never have begun. And really it began when Enoch was commanded by Niamh McShane, the principal of Wilson's Hospital School, to use the they pronoun. She said it's expected of you. And she commanded him to use the they pronoun, to justify this young child in his ways, and to put a rightness upon his desire to become a girl, which is of course not possible. God made them male and female. That's the ethos of Wilson's Hospital School in Mullingar. That's the Christian ethos of the school. And this would never have happened. That he would spend 500 days incarcerated in Mountjoy prison, put in there by the corrupt judiciary, if the church hadn't betrayed him. And I say that solemnly tonight. And there is a curse upon Pat Story, Bishop Pat Story, and Archbishop John McDowell, Church of Ireland, who have betrayed my son Enoch Burke and never uttered a word. The scripture calls in Isaiah 56 verse 10, unfaithful shepherds, dumb dogs, refusing to bark, staying silent for their own gain. And that's a picture of, I would say, the Marxist, socialist, communist Pat Story, and the same to you, John McDowell. Betrayers of Christ. Take off the collar and the cloak, and there's a hatred of Christian truth there. Not a word. Silent for the last 2.5 years, while a young man rots away in Mountjoy prison. You are a disgrace. And it is very hypocritical that Archbishop Eamon Martin will sit with him on Christmas Day and deliver a Christmas message to the nation. Do you know, Archbishop Martin, that John McDowell has betrayed Enoch Burke? He's never uttered a word. But we went to you, Eamon Martin, as well, the Archbishop of Armagh, Primate of all Ireland, and we asked you to speak out when the definition of gender was being changed from God's way, male and female. We asked you, we begged you to speak out, and you didn't do that. You tweeted when it was over. And when it was passed.
Minutes after the vote was taken in the All-Ireland, incredibly, tweets from Archbishop Eamon Martin after we had spoken to him days beforehand.
And Archbishop Eamon Martin has nothing to say either. A friend of John McDowell. Archbishop Eamon Martin, Catholic Archbishop. John McDowell, Protestant Archbishop. Betrayers of Christ, I would say. Betrayers of Christ. Betraying the parents of this country. Nothing to say about the promotion of gender ideology, of transgenderism, of porn in our schools, and depravity. And we've heard of the new curriculum, SPHE and RSE. And the whistleblower came out and she said it's satanic. They were her words. What they were taught on a training course to bring back to the schools, she said it's satanic.
Yep.
And you know that, Archbishop Eamon Martin, and you evil man, I would say, John McDowell, who cares nothing about a young man and his father now incarcerated in Mountjoy prison. And you have a cheek to give a message to the nation on Christmas Day. And I hope the parents of this country rise up and exercise their inalienable rights, the rights that belong to them, that nobody can take away from them, to train their children in the way they should go, to say no to filth, perversity and pornography, which is now being put on the books in every school in this country. Don't believe anything else. Yes, it is on the books. And we've had the industrial schools, and we've had the Magdalene laundries, and we've had the sexual abuse, and the government and the church working together. And it's happening again in our schools. It's no wonder that a high percentage, it's doubled or trebled, of young people, primary and secondary, don't want to go to school, because this is put in front of them, and it is disgraceful. It's a betrayal of our children. It happened before. And when you hear the message on Christmas Day, stand back, I would say, and ask Eamon Martin why he isn't saying no to gender ideology. How many sexes are there, Eamon Martin? Is there a multiplicity of sexes? Are you what you say you are? The shepherd of Christ? Are you the successor of the Apostle Paul, who died for his faith and served his God? And don't be fooled by the lay people. You know, he told us he had lay people, but he won't say it himself. Don't be deceived. If he doesn't come out to the public and say it himself, he doesn't believe it. He's working with the government. He's working with the courts. They're all in it together. And you know, Norma Foley made this abundantly clear when she was questioned. Why is this happening in the schools? Why is gender ideology being forced down the necks of very young children, primary and secondary school? And when she was put into a corner, she said there has been huge consultations. We've had written submissions and round the table talks, and that includes the church, she said. And that is the church, the Catholic and the Protestant. Parents, I would say this Christmas, consider your ways. Stand up for your children. Stand up for your sons and daughters. Exercise your inalienable rights. Agree with God. Agree with God. You can't transmit these rights to anybody else. God tells us as parents to train up our children in the way they should go. And that doesn't matter what any archbishop says. And if it's contrary to the way of Christ, this Christmas, as we celebrate the birth of Christ, I would encourage you to say no. Write to these archbishops. Write to Archbishop Eamon Martin.
Yes.
He's sitting with the Protestant archbishop. He's agreeing with him. They travel together. They go to their football matches together. They're chums. And don't you believe any different? Don't you believe any different? And don't allow your children, your young people, to be betrayed into lives of stress and ruin and suicide. Take control of your children. Take them back this Christmas.